I am Miss Ellie. I am a special education teacher in a dual language school. I currently been in that building for 4 years, but I've been in the education system since COVID.
Since COVID. Okay. And what drew you to education? Why did you want to be an educator?
Um, I would say my son, so I have a son that's autistic. So
Hmm.
as I went through his process, being a young mom and a single mom with him, it was just so hard for me to find supports and resources. And the more I saw the Hispanic culture as, how hard it was for them, it's just kind of like I told myself, like, I think I would be useful there. And I just proceeded to like go that direction. And I just saw such a need in our culture. And I wanted parents to feel like they could come and tell me like their kid talked that day, or you know what I mean? All those fun things and everything they want to share. I wanted them to have that connection with me and feel like they're being heard instead of like always having a translator or not saying things. I just wanted them to be heard and seen.
Yeah, that's big. When you said my kid talked today, I'm a assistant principal of special education, and when you hear those little phrases, because I was over an art alternative program, and
Mhm.
so when you hear them speak, like you hear, oh wow, like where did that come from? It's such a like wow, like it brightens up your day. You're amazed, and I'm not the parent, I'm not the father, but when I hear it in the classroom, when I walk in, I'm like, oh wow, like it's really inspiring. It's
Mhm.
great, so I'm sure you see moments like that.
Yes, a lot. And it makes those hard days seem like not hard days because they're such big celebrations.
Yeah, yeah. And your first position was where, when you got your teaching credentials, and your first position was as what was your teaching position?
So I was always in the dual program. I was in the behavior intervention team, and I supported different schools. That's when I was moving around and going to different schools. But then as it moved on, when I went to that specific school to help and support with some students, I loved that school. And it was transitioning to a dual language school. And I just felt like I belonged there. And I remember talking to the principal the last day of school and telling her if that special education classroom ever opens up, like I would love to have it. But I remember going into that classroom one day, and I'm so big on like manifesting things, right? And I
Hmm.
remember walking in that classroom and saying, like, this classroom's gonna be mine one day.
That's
And I was
awesome.
like, it's gonna be mine. And so it was something like that. And I remember being with the behavior team, and we're in a meeting. We would meet every Friday and just to discuss, our different buildings. And I remember I said to them, I would love to work at that school. And my director said, you can be in the autism program here or here. She gave me different options. There's so many options for you, right? And I said, yeah, but that's not where I belong. Like, I know I belong in that school. And so I don't know how it happened, but that summer, that teacher had been there like 7+ years at that building. And then in the summer, the assistant director called me and she's like, Ellie, that position's open. Do you want it? And I was
Wow.
like, yes. I was like, well, of course. And so it was like a prayer that I wanted it. And I'm a big believer, like, if you want something, like, go for it.
Yeah. What that's amazing. Could we go back to you were on the behavioral team, you said?
Mm-hmm.
That
Yes.
was that was the first thing you did, was you were on the behavioral team.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
So we would support some of our behavior students. I was doing the middle school because I had worked as a para previously in a middle school as a
Hmm.
one-on-one with behavior. So we would go support these students, walk them to their classrooms, make sure everything was fine, take the data for them, and just make sure that they were being successful in school. And I loved the middle school piece of it because I had always done middle school at the time. So I was
Yeah.
more into the schools that had more of our Hispanic students. So having that communication, there.
Yeah, yeah. And what did you learn about working? You're working with all the students with the biggest behaviors. What did you learn with while working with those type of students?
That they all have a story.
Yeah.
There's a reason behind it all.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. You know, these behaviors just don't. They don't just happen, right? There's a story behind it.
Yeah.
Something happened at home, something happened in their life, and so it's affected them, and so
Mhm.
now they're exhibiting some of these behaviors in school, and then I feel like there's not too many people that can reach these type of students. It's and that's one of the reasons why I have this podcast. That's one of the reasons why I make these videos, is to give some sort of advice, some sort of help when it comes to reaching these students, because I feel like these students are definitely reachable. These, you could actually reach these students and turn them around and, you know, point them in the right direction. Um, and so I feel like equipping educators on how to work with these type of students is extremely important.
It is, but it goes back to how I always say, like, they need to want to learn though.
Yeah.
Because you have these educators that will sit there and complain about it. But when, let's say, I step in and say, hey, let me help you with this, let's do this, behaviors will increase. But I promise if you're consistent, it's gonna, it'll work out. And so, and it's always such a negative. And I've learned to, like, I tell my kids all the time, like, oops, tomorrow is another day. We'll work on it tomorrow. Not a big deal. Like,
Hmm.
you never hear me say, like, we see, why did you do this? No, it's like, what's going on? It happens. Let's just move past it. It's
Yes.
fixable, right? And so it's, and they'll be like, is it? I'm like, everything, there's a solution for everything. And they're like, there is. I'm like, except, and they always say, like, death. I'm like, exactly. I'm like, I can't help you with that. And I'm like, so, but everything else, I tell them, it's okay. It's not a big deal. I tell them,
Yeah.
like, I have bad days too, and I need to go get coffee,
Hmm.
and I feel like sometimes as educators we forget these are humans just like us, and they need to have that also. Like, we have the right to go get coffee or go take a break. Why can't they?
Hmm.
It's like, no, academics. And I tell people, if you focus on building a relationship, everything else will just drop real easy. It'll be so, like, you won't, the day will come where you'll see that student walk in and start doing their work.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm so big on that. I'm so big about you. You need to build that relationship with students. Um, and for, I don't. It's not even a hard thing. Building a relationship with an individual is not a hard thing. You just gotta speak to them. You speak to them. You you make connections. I don't know. It's not even hard. It's not even a
Mhm.
difficult thing. I had this thought this morning. I saw this one video, and this one educator was talking about how this year, something like this year, I'm gonna hold these standards where I'm not gonna allow myself to be taken advantage or something like that. Like, I'm not gonna. And it sounded like this person was coming from a hurt perspective, like they were hurt the previous year, or they were hurt by educators and the system and everything, and so now they're going into the new school year with this, like, this line being drawn. No, I'm not going to do anything more than this. This
Mhm.
is what it is. And I'm like, that's a, in my mind, this is my thinking. That's a wrong place to start off the new
Mhm.
year. Like, this hurt position, like, because I'm a big believer in hurt people hurt people. And if you're
Mhm.
going to the new school year, hurt from the previous school year, hurt from past parents, past students, past administration, and then you're walking into the new school year with that guard up, and you're the educator in the building, and you're just like, no, this is, you're gonna hurt some people because you're
Mhm.
hurt yourself. You're gonna hurt the students that you're working with, because hurt people. And I feel like that is the wrong approach to come into the new school year.
Yeah, and just that mentality, like, you're going into it so negative. Like, what do you expect to come out of that school year coming up? And it's crazy that you say that, because I had a conversation with a teacher. I was at a PD training, and she started saying, like, oh, it's already going to be this, like, showing how she was going to be feeling about it, this new curriculum, very overwhelmed about it, and complaining about the school. First, I was complaining about admin, but I sat there and listened. And then I said, okay, can I tell you something now? She's like, yeah. I'm like, the problem is not your admin. The problem is you. Like, you're not a tree. Like, move from there. Like, go to
Mm-hmm.
another school. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but I already know how the school runs. I'm like, so you like playing it safe and you're
Yeah,
not happy while you're doing that because it's comfort. You're used to comfort. So the problem here is you. And you're so negative. You don't even know what the year's going to look like. And
that's
you're
right.
already manifesting that's going to be a horrible year.
That's right. It's that
And
yeah,
yeah.
it's that mentality. It's that
Hmm.
mentality of, oh, this is already, like you said, manifesting what's going to happen, manifesting
Hmm.
the most negative, situations in your head about how things are going to go. And guess what? You're going to get it. You're going to get what you were thinking about. You're going to look for things. Your brain is going to be, okay, I'm going to look for the student that doesn't fall. See, look at, there's another student that doesn't follow directions. And I bet you if I call that parent's not going to even answer the phone. And you start to say these things, and then it happens, and it's just it's the beginning of the school year, and that I feel like that's not the way you should start the beginning of the school year. How do you, in your opinion, how should you start the new school year?
So me, I mean, I'm already excited.
Yeah,
Here I am
yeah, yeah,
sending stuff to print shop yesterday.
yeah.
Getting all my stuff ready. I feel like in everything, you just need to learn to look at the bright side and everything. And one of the things that I always tell people when they ask me, like, Ellie, like, what do you think about special education? And I tell them, if you don't have a why, don't do it,
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be hard days. There's going to be days that there was days when I was part of the intervention team that I used to go to my car and cry at the end of
Mm-hmm.
the day.
Mm-hmm.
And there was times, I remember one day when one of my middle school students got arrested in front of me, and I felt like they were taking my child.
Mm-hmm.
It broke me. I remember they're like, leave Ellie alone. Like, don't send her to a different building. She needs to go to the office. And it's just like you build these, you know, connections with these students and you see them be so successful. And so for me, it's like I'm excited to work with my students. I'm excited to know about their summer. Like, I can't wait to hear about it. That's just me. I go in with it like in a positive way and let it be, I can't, it is what it is. Like, I love what I do. So this is why people need to focus on their why always.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like a dirty phrase to say. Like, remember your why. Remember your why.
But
There's
it is.
that's such a tricky phrase because people say that the admin weaponized remember your why. I've never been in a PD where an admin said, and don't forget, guys, remember your why. I've never heard that in
Me
person.
neither.
In person, I've never heard that. Right? I've heard that like on social media and all kinds of other places. I remember my why. I remember my why all the time, but I'm not telling people like in a PD. Hey guys, before you leave, don't forget to remember your why when you go inside. If I did say that, it would be a joke. It would have been a joke to make everybody laugh. But I'm not gonna just say that. And I don't think anybody says that. But I feel like it's important that you
We should do
do
little
remember.
cards
Yeah,
and put them in their box. Remember your wife. It's going to be a fabulous school year.
yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be good. But I think it's important that you do remember your why. You have to remember why you are in the field of education. Like when I think about it, I want to help as many students as I possibly can, especially students that look like me, students that have
Mhm.
been through the same situations as me.
Mhm.
Because I felt like I didn't maybe get the help that I needed. Maybe I didn't have the right educators that I needed to shape me and mold me and help me. And so I want to be that person for as many kids as I possibly can. And I was like I said earlier, I was a teacher for 18 years. I was in the class for 18 years before I was sitting in my admin credential for like 5 years. I got my
Wow.
admin credential and I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. I still don't know if I want to do it yet.
Mhm.
And it took me a while to get out of the classroom. But, you know, I'm there to impact in a positive way as many students, as many families, the school, whatever I can, because especially in 2025, times are tough.
Mhm.
We need to stick together.
Mhm.
You see like this fear being spread in in the school systems. There's going to be a $6 billion cut
Mhm.
in federal funds that's going to affect after school programs, art programs, adult education, English language learner
EL
programs.
programs. Mhm.
It's going to affect so many different things. And if we're fighting about these other petty little things that don't really matter, there's like a war. There's like a war being waged on public education. It's a
Hmm.
war, and the administration, Trump's administration, seems like they want to dismantle public education, and that's tough. Like
It is.
that's tough. What do you? And then these ICE raids, right? You got these ICE raids that spread fear. Well, I'm in LA, so
Hmm.
large Hispanic community in LA.
Hmm.
Um, I could imagine when we go back to school in August, how much fear is going to be in the school, in the classrooms. How are the students feeling? How are the teachers even feeling? Because I'm sure that they have their own parents who are maybe undocumented, and
Hmm.
they're worried about their own families. So that's tough. What do we do
It
about
is.
that? How do we address that?
I just feel like I think just in general, one thing that I always say, I always come with when I come into stuff like that, always with empathy and understanding. And it's hard, like you say, there's teachers that have their own opinions, and then you have, let's say, like me, Hispanic. I have family that's
Yeah.
undocumented, so it's just like you think about it, and it's just like it's kind of hard because you want to have your opinion, but you want to be professional at all times. And I have one student saying, talking about politics, and the other one, it's just hard, And at the end of the day, I just want my students to always feel like they are loved and they're always welcome there and they're safe at all times. And we can only control what we can control at the end of the day, and our families feel supported. I mean, I had parents at the end of the school year come pick up their kids that were working in Los Campos,
Hmm.
early
Hmm.
because they had heard things were going on. So they were picking up their students, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. It's heartbreaking, and I feel like when we go back to school in August, if we thought attendance was bad before this, I feel
Hmm.
like attendance is going to be even worse now. It's going to be bad. People are going to be like, "Oh, I'm not going to send my kids to school now." And then what does that do? That means that public schools don't get funds because of
Hmm.
low attendance, and then there's no funds, and there's loss of programs, and like it's just this whole trickle effect.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, um, we have to be we have to stick together. Everybody
Hmm.
has to stick together. Teachers, admin, parents, students, everybody has to stick together. And we have to figure out a way to lift each other up, and because it's going to be, in my mind, a really interesting year. And it's easy to be negative about the new school year because of all the things that are looming over us, like, oh, all these cuts. And we have to find a way to be positive in a tough time. That's
Especially you as admin, think about it. If you lose staff members because of, cuts, who's going to fill those gaps, and fill them in to be able to support some of these students because the need is still going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the need's gonna be there, and it's gonna be interesting school year.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm excited about. I start July 29th. My first day is July 29th, so it's right around the corner. I go
Hmm.
back when there's no students there yet. I'm there maybe it's like 2 weeks before. So I'm planning, and then they got me at a couple of new schools. So I haven't been at these new schools, and so I'm at two different new schools, and so that's gonna be exciting. That's exciting to me. Um, but it's going to be an interesting year, and I got to start all over and build relationships and build that rapport with students and staff and parents and families, and um, but it's going to be an interesting year. Yeah, but let's
Yeah,
talk
it
about
is.
what you, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm finishing my admin right now.
you're
Like,
getting your admin credential.
yeah, so I got one of my masters last year, and then I decided just to go for my admin. And I just thought it for me, I just needed I need to be sitting in tables where I'm going to be heard. And one thing, like when I joined the behavior team, you know, obviously, there's a lot of issues, with special education. But I remember saying to myself, like in Spanish, of course, I remember saying, like, si no puedo contra ellos, mejor me uno, right? Only
Mm-hmm.
then will they be able to see, I'll be able to put my little, you
Mm-hmm.
know, right here sprinkles about like, well, look at this or look at that. And I think sometimes we forget about that, that it's not a war when it comes to this, you know, like sitting in these tables with these people, and it's really changed a lot of things, you know. And I decided like I need to go for my admin degree because I do want to become director of special education. I want to be that first Hispanic that sits in that chair. I mean, I remember telling her during my evaluation a couple years back, she told me that I was very assertive, right? And I was like, I don't know if it's a good thing, you know. Well, I'm just very like, what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, you know. And I remember like one day I'm gonna sit in that chair,
That's
you
good.
know, and I need to represent, you know, our students in other places where I can make a difference.
That's how I feel. That's one of the reasons why I got my admin credential as well. You know, it was like, okay, how can you make a greater impact? How can you make a greater impact? Let's move up. You know, you've been a teacher for a long time, and you could influence a class of 20. You know, or if you teach middle school, you're influencing maybe 100 and I don't know 20 students or whatever. But
Mhm.
if you're a assistant principal, if you're a principal, now you're influencing a whole school. You're influencing a whole community. If you're at a large school, you're influencing so many different people, and so that's one of the reasons why I got my admin credential was to make a bigger impact. And it's when you become an admin, it's not easy at all.
Mhm.
It's not easy at all. It's probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Being a teacher to me is easy. Being a teacher is easy. Dealing with behavior, no problem. Dealing with parents, I have no problem with parents.
Mhm.
Working as an admin, last year was one of the most difficult years of my career. You know, one of the most difficult years of my career. I've been an admin in the same position for 3 years, actually 4 years. My first 3 years, I was at this little school and had a little special education program. It was real small. It was an ID program, just one ID program. And then I went from that to this large school that had like 5 programs. It was all alternative. There was like 16 paraprofessionals there. So it was like I was in charge of like, I don't know, like 25 adults, 25
Mhm.
adults. And then each classroom had, I don't know, about 8, students in each classroom. And so it was a lot. It was challenging, and it was a lot of learning, and it was probably one of the most difficult things that I had ever tried, did.
Mhm.
And I learned so much last year. I'm grateful. Yeah, I learned so much, but it is not easy. It was not easy for me. And I'm glad that you're going to go and you're going to represent, and it sounds like you have these high aspirations, and it sounds like you're going to do big things.
Well, hopefully. That's the plan. Yes. I mean, but like you said, I mean, leaving the classroom will be hard. I mean, last year was the hardest year for me too. I mean, I was at 30, I ended the year with 36 caseload for a dual language resource room. And with this whole inclusion thing with Washington State, we are getting, you know, they have to try the resource room first before we could think about putting them in other programs, right? And so it was hard not having even my two paras. I mean, I had subs from December till the end of the school year. Some days I
Hmm.
didn't have subs.
Hmm.
And I still have to write IEPs and take data for all of these students. So, and I've been in school that during the whole time, you know. So sometimes there's days that I was go straight to my bedroom and just said I need a 15-minute nap, and I needed that, but it was hard. It was hard, but like how I said, like just remembering my why, and nothing worth it is going to be easy when you think about it.
That's right. That's right.
So if I
And-
can't hang with that, you know what I mean? Le tengo que topar.
Yeah. So you're in the resource room.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and so how many? What was your caseload?
36. It ended with 36.
36 is ridiculous. 36 is ridiculous. That is so many students. So after a certain, what is the max amount? It sounds like you're over norm.
Yeah, so the max would, once I hit 31, it's that overload.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to have two paras, but you have to think about it. This year, I had really low kinders that came in, And I don't know how it is in California, but here we're getting kinders that are not even like potty trained, you know?
Yeah.
So we had to, and there's no sending them home like back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to deal with it. And I mean, it was a struggle with even with general education teachers to help out. Nobody wants to do it. It's a no, we don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like I treat my students like I would treat my kids. Like me having a son that is autistic and that had so many struggles, and we had amazing teachers, and seeing where he's at now, being from a self-contained to a structured learning to now just being resourced in high school, still having supports, playing band since he was in elementary. But it's taken a mom like me that's pushed, you know? And it's been a system that even when he went into high school was, oh, he's not doing band because it doesn't align with the teacher's schedule. So all
Hmm.
sped teachers have to follow a schedule. So if we give him band, then we can't do that. And I didn't
Hmm.
say anything about, they did not know I was in the education system or nothing. The minute it was a back and forth, and I said, you can't do that. You can't exclude him because it
Hmm.
doesn't align with your schedule. You are discriminating him. That's
Hmm.
what's happening here. And he has the right, because he is general education student first before
Hmm.
he is special education. And you treat him that way. The minute I emailed from my school district email, the principal emailed back like this:
Oh
we'll
yeah.
have your emergency IEP meeting tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
Perfect. And it made me sad because it goes back to how I tell you, all these parents would have just accepted it and be like, oh, no se puede. It's okay. We can't do it. No, no, no. I tell them, sí se puede. Like, yes, you can. You are your kid's voice.
Yeah.
And walking into that meeting, the principal said, you'll get everything you asked for.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We could have just done this in an email. You could have just said that in an email.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And how do you empower your parents? What do you say to them? You have 36 parents.
I think,
You're at 36 IEPs, right? You're at 36
yeah,
IEPs, you know. So
yeah.
how do you empower them?
I think at the beginning it was building that relationship. You know, I did have some really hard parents.
Mm.
I mean, I've been screamed at. I've been, you named it, right? I mean, I've been lots of things.
Yeah.
But you know what? Building that relationship and seeing their students' growth and making it about their student, I think has made all the difference. They see me, I see them at the store. I'll see them at Goodwill because I love shopping at Goodwill. They'll be like hugging me. And, you know, one of a parent that came in especially reminded me so much of my son. And I really just loved on that kid. And it was hard. The kid, you know, screaming, crying, everything. And she would cry to me and tell me in Spanish, you know, like, es que no saben cómo me siento yo. I was like, sí, sí sé, you know, cómo se siente usted. Son cosas que yo he pasado. Like, yo la entiendo cómo se siente. And little by little, you know, just working on that relationship and eventually it being, you know, best, you know, friendship as with her, with the parents. And I focus on building that and coming with it as an empathy and not being judgmental and being a support.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
they tell me like, oh, you know, I got this letter from the doctor. Can you read it to me? I'm like, sure, give it to me.
Yeah.
I got you. You know, I am here to support them. I
That's
work for
good.
them. That's what I tell them.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I remember I would go to my nephew's IEP meetings as a teacher. So I would go to their IEP meetings. They had no idea that I was an educator. I just go in there with a, you know, just go in there as another individual. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be at this IEP meeting. Yeah, I'll show up. You know, dressed like whatever. Just
Yeah.
not even just t-shirt, shorts, maybe just dressed
Hmm.
like whatever. But I knew what I was gonna say, and I knew what I was gonna talk about, and I knew what he could get, and what was not acceptable. And it's crazy when you go into the IEP meet. Like I remember going into these IEP meetings as his uncle, and if you know what you're talking about, the whole conversation shifts.
Hmm.
All of a sudden, all of a sudden, you say something that you say something, and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, he knows what he's talking about. He knows he knows what's going on here."
Yeah.
Uh, the whole conversation shifts. Everything's like, oh wait, hold on, and it shouldn't be that way, right? A good IEP should not be that way, right? If you're the whoever's leading the IEP, you should direct the IEP and make sure that everything's going smoothly. The parents know their rights. Stop the IEP if the parents don't understand what's going on. Like, hey, did you get that? We'll repeat that again. Did you see that? Go through everything. Go through all their. Here are the goals. Do you have any questions about the goals? Do you want to make some change? Oh no, you're okay with that. Okay, here are the accommodations. Do you have here? You go through them all. Uh, that's how it should be run. But sometimes a lot of steps get skipped,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just like, oh, here it is. Like, oh, wait a minute, we
Mm-hmm.
skipped over so many different things.
Yes, yes,
Hold on,
yes.
hold on here.
Yeah.
And so I remember just going as a uncle going into this IEP meetings. It's like, oh, wait a minute, no, let's stop for a second. And I'm sure that's how it was when you, as a parent, knowing about special education when you went to your son's IEP meetings. It was like things changed a bit.
Well, I don't know if I should say this here, but it's come to the point that, oh, you can look at the computer, add whatever you need to add. You know what?
Well, yeah, well, you could do that because you're the parent. You're the parent, and you could
Yeah.
change the goal. You could change the goal if you don't like it. You could change it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I feel like it goes back to how I say I feel there is that missing piece when it comes to our Hispanic families and them knowing what their rights, and they feel like, oh, pues ya me están lidiando a mi hijo. I know he no, like that's his right to be in that classroom and to
Yeah,
have that support, and I think it's important that it's like empowering these parents to have that voice for for their kids, and feeling like they're supported. And at the end of the day, one of the biggest things for me is like I know what it's like to sit in that table on both sides as an educator and as a parent. When all you hear is negative and going to your car and crying about it because you want your kid to be successful. What parent doesn't want their kid to be successful?
yeah,
And knowing how hard school is for them, and then you have to ask yourself, like, am I doing a good sending him to school if he's struggling this bad? At the end of the day, I know what it's like to sit on both sides of that table. And it goes back to how I say when I tell parents, like, I work for you, I always celebrate no matter what. Even if it's
Mhm.
that 1% that they went up on their state test. Oh, but it's not at benchmark. I could care less if it's at benchmark. This kid went up 1% and
That's
I'm
right.
celebrating that,
That's right. No, yeah, that's
So,
right. And so we go to this situation about like, okay, students, you got students with big behaviors, right?
mhm.
And then you got a student in the classroom that does not have big behaviors, but they're both low academically. Who gets the IEP?
The behavior will get it first.
Automatically, right?
Always.
They're the ones that get rushed to get an IEP quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like the louder you are, whatever, the more commotion you cause, the quicker you'll get that IEP.
hmm It
Yeah,
is.
and how do you feel about that?
I think it goes back to how you said, like, a lot of teachers need those tools, and how to work with these students. And maybe we would see, like, not so much of an increase in those referrals for behavior. But at the end of the day, it goes back to our admin, too,
Mhm.
and what's being allowed and what support systems. So here we have, it's called MTSS, and it's like a behavior person that goes and supports teachers and gives them plans, of like, we're going to follow this plan. And so I think we need a person that actually knows what they're doing
Hmm.
and has been in behavior. So for me, it is frustrating when I see that. And there's been times that I have said, I am going to use all my days before I approve this IEP goes into effect. If it's my 30 days that I have, we're going to, the last day, I do. And you know why? And it's not always been the case for everything, but especially, there's been some that I've told them, do it this way, follow the plan this way. This whole, like, I work with a lot of English language learners, right? So then a lot of them come in, we have a lot of them in our school, and behavior is big. Why? Because they can't communicate, and a teacher is really not trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And this whole professional thing, I get it. But some of these kids, let's just say you're from LA, son de la calle, right? Their
Mm-hmm.
vocabulary
Mm-hmm.
is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't come to them like, oh, buenos dias. But no, I had a student, kid you not. I would be like, ¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo estás? You know? And you'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
bien, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he'd be like, oh, I listened to this, you know? And I'll be like, oh, wow, you know? But I came at him at his level.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to have kids come to me and ask us, no, I'll meet you where you're at, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just how I look at things. So, I mean, like I said, it goes back to teachers not having the proper tools and our admin, you know, giving them the supports that they need and even them modeling that, how it should look like.
And I don't think all admin know how to model how that should look like. That's, you think about it, okay, so you're a classroom teacher, right? You're a classroom teacher for, you could, in LA, I think it's like 5 years. You could be a
Mm-hmm.
classroom teacher for 5 years, then you get your admin credential and become an admin after 5 years. And I feel like after 5 years, that's just not enough. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that's not enough to just jump into being an admin and then telling other teachers, oh, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is, and so maybe they don't have the proper training. And I don't know how do you even get the proper, I feel like the training that I got was just going through it. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. Like going through it, like as a young person, going through it as a young person, getting in trouble,
Mm-hmm.
understanding that whole side, like just being part of that whole side of not following directions, getting in trouble at home with my own family, you
Mm-hmm.
know, struggling, just that whole struggle. If you could get out of that whole struggle, now you're like, now I could help all these people because I've been through this whole mess right here. I
Mm-hmm.
my father had a mental illness. He was schizophrenic. We were on public assistance for almost my whole life, just like,
Mm-hmm.
I had kids super young. And so I had to make it happen. Like you just got to make it happen. You have to make it happen. And so because of that struggle, now I'm in the classroom. I started teaching when I was 22 years old. I'm in the classroom and I'm seeing these kids. I'm like, man, you look like you just went through the same stuff I went through.
Mm-hmm.
You sound like you have the same story as me. I know what you're doing right here. This is the same stuff I would do right here. What you're doing right here is what I would do too. And I understand that. And let me show you, let me help you out with that. You're angry. I was angry. Let me show you let me show you how to regulate your emotions. And so that's helped me.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped me tremendously. So when I work with students, um, it's like the back of my hand. Like I know this the back of my, it's not even hard because I went
Mm-hmm.
through all of that. And I don't know if, you got administrators who probably didn't go through all of that.
It's your
Didn't
life experience.
Yeah, it's your life experience. And then it's like, okay, if you don't have that life experience, then how do you do it?
Yeah. I feel at the end of the day, teachers need to figure out like if that is for them, right? Because behaviors are only going to get harder.
Yeah.
And we need to learn to change as the education keeps moving because it's always changed. I'm sure in these all these years you've been in, you've seen it huge shift, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that we just need to always keep in mind. This might not be the job for all educators.
It's
I
true.
mean, it's a great to have summers off, but in reality, if you're going to be miserable about it and complaining about it all year, then why do it?
That's
I mean,
right.
that's just my opinion.
I agree.
You know, I mean, I just, you know, it's like my experience with special education. I've had 17 years of it with my sixth child, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with all of that. And it's been hard, you know, there's seeing my kid struggle. And there's days where I'm crying, and there's days that, you know, this summer, he wants to get a job, going through mock interviews and helping him out, doing resumes. And it's hard because it's like, I'm never done.
Yeah. You're never
And it's
done.
always going, like I'm always, and it's hard. And I told my husband that I was like, how do parents do this, like at this age gap when they're 17, of giving them that support, you know? It is so hard. I can't imagine a parent que no tiene like dirección of where to go,
Mm-hmm.
how challenging it is.
Yeah, yeah. Are there CTC career transitional centers in Washington?
There is. So that means they stay in school till they're 21,
Yeah.
but that process doesn't start till their senior year.
Okay.
Mm,
Yeah. You should look into it.
yes.
Yeah,
But
because I had worked for summer. I didn't know nothing about CTCs. And
mhm,
this summer, like maybe 2 weeks ago,
mhm,
I had a friend who said, "Hey, you want to help me out at a CTC?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll help you out during the summer. I got a couple of weeks. Let me go out there and check it out."
mhm,
I went to the CTC. Never been to a CTC. Went
mhm,
there and I was amazed. This is just summer school.
mhm,
The classes that they had, like one of the classes was car dealers detailing, and so they would go out there and they would go and wash cars and show them how to detail cars, and this is a way to make money. Another one was like a Starbucks. They had a little cafe, and so they'd
mhm.
make different drinks and take money and learn how to do all that cashier stuff. There was screen printing and button making. There was a farm and a garden, and they would pick vegetables. They had a farmer's market, and they did all of that as well. Um, there was like their own Goodwill, so they would
Oh,
get clothes that
nice.
were donated. Yeah, and they would
Yeah.
sell their clothes and all that. And so I was like, wow,
Mhm.
this is amazing. And I go, this is what
Yeah.
happens here at this center. He's like, yeah, we just,
Mhm.
and some of them go off campus. They go off campus and they work off campus, and they bring them back into the school at the end of the day.
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I didn't know this existed. This is
Mhm.
this is pretty awesome. So I don't know. I'm all for CTCs now after after
No,
I
I
saw that.
mean, but if you think about it, with our young kids, why is that only being offered to special education kids? I
Yeah.
think all of our students should have an opportunity to learn these skills and that job ethic about like, okay, this is how we communicate, this is how we do this. I think our kids are struggle with that.
I think so too. I think so too. And this goes back to when I was like I don't know, middle school teacher. I was like, I always feel like yeah, we're teaching the curriculum, but we need to teach life skills as well.
Hmm.
We got to teach these life skills about, I say this all the time, but like, yeah, I'm teaching math, but I'm really teaching you how to working with a partner today. We're gonna work with, and I'm really teaching you how to communicate. I'm looking to see how well you communicate with your partner and how you persevere through a tough problem.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna comment on that kind of thing. And and you teach those skills, these skills that you're gonna need in real life. You're not gonna remember how, you're not gonna apply like, I don't know, some sort of math formula every day, but you will communicate every single day. You will need to know how to work with a team. You will need to know how
Yes.
to persevere.
Yes.
These things you have to do every single day. I think
Yeah.
those are some of the skills that need to be taught in the classroom.
Yes. I mean, it's like I remember my math teacher in high school. She would tell me, Ellie, you're not going to be able to walk around with a calculator in your hand.
Uh,
And then I've seen her now because she's retired. I'm like, yes, I am. Look at me carrying my phone.
yeah, no, absolutely.
But at the end of the day, you just want your students to be successful and you
Yeah,
want them to feel safe at all times. And one thing about my students, and I'm very clear about it, like this is a safe place. If you feel like screaming and yelling in here, go for it. There's a time and a place for everything. I'm like, imagine Miss Ellie goes to the office and starts yelling. I'm gonna get in trouble by the principal. I can't do that. But if I go yell in my car because I'm stressed out and then come back, we're good, right? And they're like,
yeah,
oh yeah. And teaching them that it's not wrong with these emotions. This idea of like, oh, I can't behave this way. You have the right to express your emotions. We just need to find a place of where we're gonna do it.
yeah. Now earlier you had talked about how behavior is your jam. You said this was a
Hmm.
statement. Maybe you said it off camera. I don't know if it was at
No,
the
it is
beginning.
mine.
How is behavior your jam? Why do you say that?
I just feel like my life experience and having some of these conversations, with these students, I relate so much to them coming from immigrant parents and missing out school. Not, I mean, I missed my whole seventh grade year of school, and school was hard for me. And I'll be honest, I hated school.
Mm,
And I had, now that I look back, Miss Northam and Miss Knight, those two teachers, Miss Northam would go every morning at 6:30 to help me out with math.
mm,
If it wouldn't have been for her, I probably wouldn't have graduated.
yeah,
So looking back, I tell myself she didn't have to do that. She wasn't getting paid for to help me. And so now I look back and it's like that was her time. But every time, I remember my senior year, she got there at 6:30 every morning, and she would help me every morning. And like she just didn't give up on me, even knowing that I was always skipping. I was just not your. I wasn't dealt with the best cards, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I came out through it and I pushed through. And, my counselor that I had at the time, he is now a principal in our district where I'm at. And I get to sit with him in trainings and stuff. And, we laugh about it. And I tell him, who would have thought, right? We sit in the same table.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I feel like students just need somebody that's going to be there for them. And why I say behavior is my jam is because I come into it as understanding and not judgmental, and I come into it wanting to know how can I help them. And I feel that behaviors is it's just kind of like a mask, that shield that they have, because I was them.
Yeah. And how do you get them to take off that mask?
I think just accepting them with their flaws, good days and bad days. And at the end of the day, I mean, I had a middle schooler every morning would come in and I would say good morning and he would tell me to F off every morning, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And every morning, like clockwork, I knew that's what was going to come out of his mouth. But guess what? I never stopped telling him good morning. By the end of the school year, he stopped telling me that
Yeah.
and would ask me, do we have milk and cereal? And I'll be like, yeah, we do. And I just want, I don't want to give up on them. And I want them to know that I'm going to love on them no matter what. If it's a
Yeah.
good day or a bad day, and if we're not going to do academics today because it's a hot mess, I'm cool with that. You know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I have kids that have come and they're tired and they haven't slept well. Go for it. There's a seat there, there's a blanket, take a nap.
Yeah. And what do you think about detention and suspension? Tough
Well, I mean,
question.
I don't know. I think it goes back to I know there's these policies and procedures that have to be followed,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand that piece. But at the end of the day, too, we have to focus on like, is this a determination of their disability? Because if it is, then we need to change something to better support this student. But I feel that a lot of teachers, a lot of meetings that go like that, it's like, oh no, we're going to suspend them. And it's
Mm-hmm.
heartbreaking because I feel like when that happens, the student feels like we're giving up on them,
Yeah.
or they feel like that's a way out. I mean, because I've had students that be like, oh, if I'm so bad, you're going to call my mom. And I've told them, I will not call your mom. Go for it. If you want to flip this room and do whatever you want, go for it. But I will not call your mom.
Yeah. That's a big thing because teachers will say or educators will say, well, if one student is acting up and it's disrupting the whole learning environment, then what about all the other 20 students, 25 students in the classroom? Wouldn't it be easier just to get rid of that one student? What would you say to something like that?
I would say maybe you should focus on pulling that one student closer to you and having them sit next to you and giving him, I'm not saying this one-on-one attention, but more of like, hey, how's it going? Instead of just throwing them in that back corner, which they do. And this kid knows, they already know that you already singled them out.
Yeah.
I would tell them, start building a relationship with that student.
Yeah. I always feel like I'm here to save the lost. I feel like I'm here to save the lost.
Yeah.
Those other kids, they're gonna be fine. Those other
Mm-hmm.
kids are gonna be fine. They're gonna be fine. There's probably like 4 or 5 kids that you really need to build a really tight relationship with,
Yeah.
and the rest
Mm-hmm.
of them, they don't really need much. Just teach them the curriculum, keep them safe, teach them the curriculum, say good morning, be polite. You
Yeah.
know, and you really don't need to do much with those, but there's a handful of students, 3 or 4 students that you really need to connect with and really make those connections with. That's, in my opinion, I'm there for them, because
Mm-hmm.
the other one, they could go on autopilot. These other students, they could hit the autopilot button, they'll be fine. They're
Yeah.
going to be taught, they're self-motivated, they have good parents, they have they have a good support system,
Yeah.
and there's just 4 or 5, whatever that amount is per year. It might be as little as 2, it might be as much as 7 in one year. Whatever it is, I'm like, that's who I need to connect with. That those are the students right there.
And
That's
you
it.
know which ones are yours.
Yeah,
I know. I tell mine, yo conozco los míos. I
yeah, yeah,
know.
yeah. It's automatic. It's like, oh yeah, oh yeah. Like I just know it. I'm like, okay, yeah, these are the ones I really need to connect with. These are the ones I need to save. These
Yes.
are the ones I need to help the most. And it's not like I'm saving them like that. It's like I just do my part.
Yeah.
Let's just do my part. I'm gonna do my part. I'm gonna love on them. I'm gonna make sure they're good this year, and then they're gonna be gone. And then next year it's somebody else's student or whatever. I'm always there for them if they always want to come back and talk.
Hmm.
But I recognize like that's the one I need to save the most. It sounds like you
Hmm.
feel the same way.
Yeah, and I think again, it goes back to it's a personal thing, and I want those kids to feel that they are heard, and I meet them at their level, and if that means that we're doing things a little different, it is what it is. And I mean, it's to the point that I don't even have to get close to a student. The minute they hear me walking, because I usually will wear heels, and they'll hear me in the hallway, and then I'll be like, there's admin or whoever they're with them, and I'll be like, "Vámonos, let's go," and then just come and I
Hmm.
start walking. I don't
Hmm.
even have to go grab them; they already know.
Yeah,
And then I'll be like, "What's up? What's going on?" Then they start telling me. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's been a hard day. I get it. Yeah, I've had a hard day too. Come on, let's go. I need you to come help me do something." Oh,
yeah.
okay. You know?
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's good. So we're coming toward the end of the podcast right here, and I always ask my guests at the end of the podcast, what are 3 tips that you could give to future educators who want to be in special education? What would you say to them?
Be open to learning,
Mm,
and would be my first one. My second one, if you're gonna go for special education, just know that as much as loving you want to do, there's also a lot of paperwork.
yeah,
So at the end of the day, you know, like I said, know your why, your reason why you got into special education, because that will fill in those days that are hard.
that's good.
And third, I would say always come into every school year and every day with a positive attitude. And I'm a big believer in how you dress is how you feel. So I
Mm,
am very like like I'll dress up for work, and I
mm,
love it because I want my students, especially like the Hispanic girls, to see me and be like, I want to be like that because I had a teacher like that in high school.
good point.
And so I want them to feel like, and I love it. Sometimes they'll be like, "Ay, Miss Ellie, qué guapa," and I
Yeah,
laugh. But at the end of the day, I want them to see themselves in me. So go into it every day with a positive attitude and dress to impress every day because those kids are looking up to you, and you were that kid one day.
that's right. That's right. Well, Ms. Ellie, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your
Thank you.
time that you gave to me. I don't know what time it is in Washington, but
Same time.
same time. Oh yeah, it's up north. Uh, so yeah. But thank you so much for being on the podcast. Greatly appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.